What's up, everyone? Welcome to the BINACT podcast, where we talk music, the people that make it, and the communities that listen to it. Look at us, back on schedule, kind of,
Kind of.
kind of. We're getting it together, okay? It's happening. It's happening. Um, Live and direct from hurricane preparation
Oh,
here in South
for
Carolina.
yes, for
Air
you.
quotes. Yeah, I would say air quotes. No, I mean it's supposed to rain, but with climate change and things going the way that they're going, I still do take it very seriously. Um, we're still just supposed to get rain, and I was moving my mic setting. We're supposed to get rain and really just rain, and I think we're supposed to get some winds, but yeah.
What's the hurricane's name for?
Idalia.
I swear that they're just making up names at this point.
Well, they have it's like a little generator or something, I think, and um, I've got to sit back because for some reason, the louder I get, I can hear myself echo, and sometimes you can hear it in the recording. Um, they have like a generator or something, obviously, or not obvious. It wasn't particularly obvious until I talked about it in one of my Discord servers. But you realize that like all of the hurricanes are women, and then like the tropical storms are men because hurricanes are like worse.
Well, you know why that is, right?
No, why is that? Other than hurricanes just being worse.
No, well the whole thing is so, and I got this from my seventh grade teacher. I don't know if it's ever true, if it was ever true or not, but I think it had some type of uh weight to it. It came the name hurricane came from a fighter pilot, and
Okay.
literally
All right.
well, the whole thing of not the naming convention of it being women came
Mm-hmm.
from came from a fighter pilot because he was going through it at the time, and when he saw the storm, he was like, "Man, her she's a pain," and he says, "My wife so and so is a pain," and he was like, so it's like he correlated the size of the hurricane with the size of his wife's attitude and
I
whatnot.
mean, that doesn't shock me, but that's still aggravating as shit because niggas annoying too.
Well, it's a fire, so that's the whole thing. So it was her a pain, but they switched it to hurricane, and then
Oh,
of course
this
when this,
sounds like a old wives' tale mixed with like it feels like there's some truth to it, but I don't know what's true.
well, the whole thing is that people that the a lot of women found, quote unquote, allegedly found that out, and were so offended. That's why they started incorporating like hurricane pods and males' names in there. But
I
it's
think well, I think all hurricanes are still they still have female names, and the tropical storms have. I don't know. Anyways, I mean, I anticipate it to be very wet tomorrow. They're not like they're calling for kind of like flash flooding, and they're calling for a lot of flooding like on the coast, but they're calling for like flash flooding here since it's going to rain. And then obviously the schools, like I think what frustrates me, I am glad that the schools shut down or like do a half day or try to adjust. So tomorrow the school is doing a half day, which even in normal circumstances, half days are the bane of dual income households. Let me tell you why. Just story time for people who are parents with school age kids already know this. And people who aren't, here's a lesson. If you're a household where both people go to work, wherever that is, working from home or commuting or however your setup is, half days are stupid because work don't have half days. Like it's not like my job randomly is like, every 3 weeks we get a random half a day. At least not my job. Apparently, some people get like half day Fridays or whatever. Not in my company. So a half day is always an inconvenience for working parents. There's no way to slice that. It's never lit because you're taking off work. So that means you're taking your vacation time to go pick up the kid in the middle of the day. And I have a slight grievance because who said that this is what we're supposed to do and why? Like have to either let the kid be out of school, you know what I mean? Because like either give me like if that's the case again, okay, because a full day off, you got to figure out what to do anyways. You have to take off a whole day of work anyways if the kids are out of school or whatever. But like, what the fuck is a half day? What is that? Who decided this? I find it annoying. That's all. Logically, like on the educator, like administrative side of things, it makes sense because like a lot of those half days, well, like tomorrow, everybody's going home, but like a lot of those half days, sometimes the teachers stay in and get some work done or whatever. Like I get that piece of it, but for the parent, like what? So, like what? I don't know. I've been trying to figure out like back. I was trying to remember what happened to me when I had half days from school, but like,
I know
what
what
do you
happened.
like?
I know what happened to me.
What happened to you?
That's why my mom just took me to the job.
You know what? Now, back in the day, my dad did used to take me because he worked for the state. So he had a little office and I would just like sit in the corner or whatever.
That's basically what.
Um, but I'm just thinking now, and like, I mean, like I said, working from home, it is inconvenient at best because like the work from home landscape, again, this a whole tangent. The work from home landscape is like, yeah, like people nowadays, people are still kind of like, you know, back when everybody was working from home, it would be like, hey, everybody, I need to go on mute. My dog's barking, beep, beep, like mute, mute. You know. But now people are more like, okay, I don't give a fuck about that dog. I don't give a fuck about your kids. Like now things are just due. Like nobody's like, oh, we care. Like
No,
some
that's
like some
I'm.
managers are, you know, I mean, like they're accommodating, but like it's less of that. So again, when it's kind of like, okay, well, kids are at home for a half day or whatever, it's like half days are I don't know. Half days are just dumb.
Well,
Either take the whole fucking day or don't.
the whole thing about it is usually because the people that are in higher management, and this leads into what's going on, that they want everybody to come back to work, but it's really not for the right reasons. It's really coming down to to real estate.
I mean,
So, instead of just saying, "Hey, we're going to have a hybrid schedule of, you can pick of 3-2 or 2-3s, whatever what works for you, or whatever works for you, you know, except
I
for
don't
like
see how that like makes the real estate problem. Like if
well,
everybody was hybrid, that wouldn't be a problem because
it
everybody
what
would be
it wouldn't
hybrid.
be,
But
but they want to, but it's a whole thing of control.
yeah,
It's a whole thing of control. But why I say real estate is because a lot of these office buildings have high leases. So they're leasing. They don't own the building. They lease out the office space. So they're paying all this money every month, and they're not seeing any return on that. So
but
they're
you
like,
wouldn't see a return on it anyways. Like all the excuses don't make sense because you're not
no,
going to see
no,
a
no,
return on it with my ass.
no,
No, I know. I'm just saying the
yeah.
logic behind it don't be logicking to me because you're not going to see a return. Like me sitting in the seat doesn't give you any more money.
The whole thing is that everybody's trying to take their lead from Elon Musk, who's like, no, we need to have everybody in here 5 days a week. If you're not in
Shut
here
up.
5 days a week, you you need to fire, because government's trying to do that and whatnot. But it's like this. Well, if you're not in the office building, how can work get done? And then also the surrounding community, how does that affect the surrounding community? I'm like this, fuck the community to a certain degree, because every place, and I hate to say this, is in every state, what your main source job sources are, whether it's government, schooling, tech, what have you, right? When If your job sources are not fully diversified, and what I mean by that is like in the top three that you can chop into any one of them, and it's still making a big amount of money, then you have a problem. And where I'm at in Maryland, DMV area, the main job source is government.
All right,
Federal
well, that makes sense.
so federal government, local government, it's just government and military, right? When they did the government shutdown, you saw literally everybody off the roads and people were struggling. And then when of course news and they try to say we need to get back to work, we need to get back to work. Yes, you need to get back to work, but the whole thing was said to any individual's eyes who was thinking is like this: look, you got a problem because this is literally like 70% of your whole entire workforce is government, and that's all that this area is known for. There's no diversity compared to like if you
That
go up
makes
to
sense.
like so like if you go up to New York, right? New York, you got tech, you got
Well, that's a
entertainment,
whole different ball game too,
but
because
but you see where I'm going with it,
yeah,
right? Tech, entertainment, you have multiple industries that can say, okay, hey, we're not built. If one goes down, we're still okay, you know. And California, it's tech capital and all this type of stuff, but
I said all that to say I opened up with a rant. And FBI agent, if you're listening, this is not me talking shit on my particular company. I just, it's a like
I think let me hop in there while you get there. I think to me it's stupid. Remote work is not going anywhere. I think it's more just people want to go back to the way things were and just being slave masters. And honestly, and I understand the whole thing of people need to get back to work. Well, people also have a work life balance that even though their kids may be in the picture or what have you, at least they're not on the road 2 hours a day trying
right.
to run from 45 from their job being 30 45 minutes away in traffic each way trying to get their kid on time, trying to get to work on time, compared to, hey, let me just drop my kid off and literally I'll be home and be on the computer by a certain time and what have you.
I count it. That's why I say I count it all blessed.
Yep.
I am annoyed. What I'm really annoyed about, which is obviously capitalism as a whole, by the structure of things that just don't make sense, right? Like thinking about like school, school schedules try to be uh kind of like planned around people's work schedules, but like realistically, and this is not me advocating for like kids to be in school for 8 hours, because I'm not, because I think in like on a maybe I heard an educator say this or somewhere I was told that like the way the school schedule is kind of like setting them up for a work day, which like okay, fine, right? But it's just like doing backflips. I don't know how this can't be seamless, right? Like if people got to go to work and kids got to go to school, why are we jumping through hoops? Like elementary school gets out at like 2:45. I don't know anybody that gets out of work at 2:45. Or you know what I mean? Like if you're a 9 to 5er, you don't get off work. Or unless your first shift is early, like if you're like a plant worker or something like that. Like either way, it's just not conducive to anybody's life at all. That's all I'm saying. It's just aggravating, and like capitalism is a scam. I feel capitalism is a scam has just been a very big part of my life. I think since lockdown, capitalism just a scam. That's really it. That's all. That's it and
Well,
that's all.
as I watch, CoffeeZilla, Pocket Watching with JT, a couple of these other guys really just exposing a lot of these a lot of these scammers. Unfortunately, I'm not going to say it's us. It's a pick your pick whatever culture you have. You're going to have a whole lot of people scamming. You know, whether it's through financial literacy, um, if if you know, you know. If you know, you know what I just said. But you got people like that who say they're for the financials, trying to empower people, but it's really trying to empower their egos and their pockets. Um, a lot of these quote unquote the biggest and brightest, they're visionaries, really are nothing. Like their rugs are getting pulled from them because of their own social media doing. Um, like come on.
Let's pivot. We opened the episode very Debbie Downer.
Let's no, ain't no Debbie Downer. Let's just call it
we
what it is.
opened the episode real
Let's just call it what it is. Ain't nothing going on music wise. Ain't really nothing going on because everybody wants to do social shenanigans,
not social
But
shenanigans.
social shenanigans, um except for Nas and celebrating putting on a great performance through Mass Appeal and celebrating 50 years of hip hop.
Oh.
50 Cent, 50 Cent going on his last world tour, and all the stops looks like he's having fun and just enjoying the ride. Your girl that you went and paid X amount of dollars for, her tour is about to wrap up. Like let's just call it what it is. Ain't nothing ain't nothing else going on in the industry.
I will accept ain't nothing else going on in the industry, air quotes, but I'm just not about to let you like there are so many things that have dropped that are doing well. I was about to say numbers, but I don't like equating numbers to doing well. I don't believe in that. So there are lots of things that are doing well, lots of artists that are thriving out here. So like I get what you mean. Um, but we know the industry is being the industry. And I will pause to take a brief break to say, for one, just because the 50th anniversary of hip hop fell in the middle of us like recalibrating or whatever, um, we didn't talk much about it. But I also just would like to mention that me personally, if it were me, and I'm not, I mean, I was gonna say I'm ready for like pitchforks and whatever, but I really don't care. Hip hop is a very instrumental genre to my life, but I don't know how I would have handled covering 50 years of hip hop. Like I just
Can I say something about that?
I mean, basically the way that I started this and then chime in, I just don't know how BINACT would have handled covering 50 years of hip hop with the state of hip hop being where it is for me personally. And that's not to say that I don't care about hip hop and hip hop is, not an influential genre. I just don't know what I would have done with it. So if anybody is questioning why, one reason is because we were recalibrating, and the other reason is because by the time that I would have gotten recalibrated, I don't know what I would have talked about.
I'm gonna be honest with you, and other people have highlighted this in other mediums and shows. But I think the 50th year celebration of hip hop was significantly lacking. I think a lot of people didn't know how to um what's the best way to put it? How to handle it with the care and the decorum that it deserved. I think I think the performance at Yankee Stadium. That's why I said Nas and Mass Appeal. I think they did it. Were one of the more successful because they took great care. They were trying to showcase like all the eras. It went long, but they showcased as many of the eras as they could. But I also know that the South felt a little bit disrespected because they didn't get the shine. Which,
And
which hold on, which I know that there was two other tours that was going on roughly around the same time, and ironically from LL with Rock the Bells, and he was doing his Force tour that he had different special guests. So everything was building off of each other. But I know there was a lot to be desired on top of, and I will say this, on top of, there was a lot of initial backlash. And I'm not saying just throw things up and say how hip hop changed your life or whatever, you know, feel good stories and whatnot. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that a lot of what you were touching on, of where the state is that's what a lot of people are at crossroads with. And and it's funny and I'll let you take over. It's funny because I remember a couple weeks ago, Dr. Trey was talking to Kevin Hart, and he was talking about, hey, a lot of the music, he's like, hey, where we're at, it's just getting bigger, bigger, and better and better. And I think I talked about this on our last episode, that I was like, Dre, I think you're kind of wrong on here, because he didn't shit on the new generation. He said a lot of things I don't listen to because it doesn't do anything for me. But he was saying that it's in a better place position wise, and I had this like, is it really? Because I think it's this, the the opportunities are greater, the technology is great to make better records, but I think the quality has gone down. I think the highlight of the quality of artists has gone down. I feel that the ones that we know that can actually rap, actually make great bodies of work, is not being highlighted enough, or they'll get an initial like maybe 30 seconds in the mainstream, and then it's like, okay, what's next? So is hip hop really in a better place per se? I'm gonna throw it over to you.
I have like 7 things, but I'm gonna start with one. Um, so yes, I want to, and that actually really wasn't even in the topic of things discussed tonight, but I wanted to kind of talk about again, like why you didn't see, or why, like, oh, you didn't see, or even as far as like, first of all, if you're a regular listener of the podcast, we've already discussed what we're doing with social media. So that's that. But why you didn't even see like, oh, we did the little 30 days of hip hop or whatever. And then like why you didn't see any of that. Again, handling it with care is very important. And let's start there. It's something to be handled with care, and maybe a little bit of, I mean, I'll say me personally, I won't take over and say, that for you, but a little bit of my imposter syndrome does not touch hip hop with like, or I'll say hip hop historians with like a 50-foot pole, right? I'm not about to sit here and play with with the super big like music heads or whatever. Like, for one, it doesn't even feel like my place. Like, I love championing good music. I love hip hop, but like, that's one. Two, or even 1.5, handling it with care is important. And I did not want to be a part of the pointing and laughing that happened when something was done wrong. Because a lot of that did end up happening. Like, the places that we all know do them fuck ass list, and then people was fucking arguing. I said 1.5, 1.75. I don't want to be a part of that discourse. I've gone on record and said that BINACT is not a part of that discourse. We are not the discourse for people to be yelling back and forth about, well, Complex said this and they're stupid and wrong. We know they're stupid and wrong. So we're not like, we can just stop supporting them. Like, I always get on this soapbox, but I'd be tired of y'all letting Complex piss you off intentionally. And that makes me very mad. Stop, unfollow them. Just unfollow them. It's okay. Like, or if you want to see like, the next new up and coming person or whatever. But when Complex does something real stupid that is clickbait, because I know that there is a little nerd that like lives in the Complex writers room that's like, what's gonna piss them off today? How can I make a list? Like, I know he lives there. So like, stop doing that,
It's
because
funny.
that's what they do.
It's funny. Joe Biden actually, when Everyday Struggle was going on, it's funny that in like the first 2 weeks, Joe Biden actually found that person, or at least the person that lived up to those stereotype.
I'm just saying, like, I know he or she even, I'm not even gonna make this a gender neutral role. I know the person exists. They live there. They live in complex and they do it. So like unfollow them. So that's one. Two, the mainstream is broken. That came up when you said something. The mainstream is fucking broken. And so when we get to saying these things, right? Like, oh, like, like, oh, music is in the industry and da da da. You're right. The mainstream's fucking botched. So, okay, but like in saying that the mainstream is broken, or and even to take it further, it's broken because we are being marketed to at all times. So we are at a heavy state of like always being sold something. So a lot of the times the talent or the really fun part of like discovering artists, like what was that tweet? I don't know. I want to say you retweeted it. I saw it on BINACT Instagram and I'm really pissed off that I didn't bookmark it somewhere. It was like A&Rs are, oh shit, I'm gonna find it, but it was just something talking about breaking artists and A&Rs, and I was like, yeah, that's because all y'all do is search TikTok. Like y'all are TikTok A&Rs, and so y'all be out here looking for what song got 7 million hits. Like that's not really A&Ring. And again, I've never been an A&R, so maybe I don't know what the job is, but like y'all aren't even like you're not even doing the work to discover anyone new. So that's why I be getting a bee in my fucking bonnet where it'd be like, oh, the mainstream is broken. Well, no, the mainstream is broken. Yes. And I'm not about to sit here and say that the talent doesn't exist. The people who are I'll specify that the people in the right places aren't looking because I'm looking. So, I mean, but I can't put nobody on. Like, I mean, I'm trying, but like
I
the
think
people.
I think what you're saying is, let's just call it what it was, and you can call them, because everybody knows the record industry got plenty of stories of bloodletting and all this type of stuff. And what I mean by that is like the writers not paying the songwriters or whatnot. But I'm just going to use, for example, like Motown, right? And I could be totally off on here, but I just want to, but this kind of serves to my argument to a certain point. When Motown was running, they had literally a pipeline of producers,
Yep.
songwriters, and singers. So usually the songwriters and the producers were helping. It was a whole family collective,
Right.
and usually it was the singers that may have gotten it was the songwriters that wrote the hits, that was like, oh, you can also sing too. That, guess what, we know you can do this with so and so. What about you? Because I'm looking at you, and guess what, you're up next. Because was it, you got Marvin Gaye was part of that. Smokey. Uh, I know there's a couple others, but those are two that just come off the top of my head. That that literally, it was like a full. It was almost, it was an assembly line, but it was like, okay, you got to learn how to write great songs. You got to write. Then you got to learn how to perform them. You got to learn how to make that connection. And once you did that, it was usually through a feature. And it's like, okay, now we see what you're doing. Guess what? Now you're up. We're playing. We're taking this person off the deck for a little bit while they recover, but we got somebody else coming up.
The key concepts here are community and synergy. Those are very key concepts in what we're saying.
And it was artist. And the thing is, artist development, because you can be a great songwriter, but you can be a terrible performer.
Well, and getting like you said, well, I guess that to me that kind of falls into the synergy because you got the room, or not. Well, it's the room to grow, but you had the people around you that are going to help you grow. So there's not just, ooh, pick someone off the internet and then just hope that by somehow that they're talented and can perform live. You just have them up on stage. Anyways, those were the 2 points from the like trying to cover hip hop things that stood out mainly. Like I said, I had probably a longer list. They weren't as important, but those two stick out very heavily in my mind. And mainly with the mainstream being fucking broken. Like I'm almost to the point, and I'm not going to sit here up on a high horse and be like, I'm never listening to mainstream music. That's not fucking true. But like, I just want us to actually stop turning to the mainstream at this point, because now you're going to be upset because you're going to be like, oh, there's nothing to listen to. There's a ton of shit to listen to. Actually, it's here. There's a lot of talent out here. And so, again, it's kind of our job, even as like the little guys, to do the work and be like, okay, well, who are we listening to? Like, let's get back in the game and like make sure that we're covering our bases and listening to people, because the mainstream broke and I don't even care for it to get fixed at this point because I don't know what's going to fix it. Like,
They don't even know.
like
They
if
don't
they
even
don't know,
know.
I don't know. So I'm not
You-
looking to them anymore.
they're scrambling. They're scrambling, trying to figure out what's that new thing and what's going to keep the lights on for X amount. And it's like literally go back to the basics. Do your damn job. And this is not saying like if you on TikTok and you gotta or you go viral off of a song or
Right.
whatever.
This is not me shitting on Fly on a Boss because they did a great job. Hello, Christ. I'm about to sin again. Like, good job.
Yeah,
It's
you got
just saying,
but anybody will tell you that has been in any industry of producing, and whether that's music, whether that's movies, whether that's in sports, whether that's in books. It's not about okay now. Yeah, you did this. Now, what can you do? It's really what can you do for me in the next 2 to 3 moves. So can you get
woo.
can do you that's why I always said for any artist, and yes, there's longevity, but we're seeing is what is really watering down a lot of the music is this quantity over quality. Because a lot of them feel like they just need to feed. And you're like this, bruh. I understand. Look, I understand, but after a while, I always, and this was always my thinking when I listened to an artist. Your first out, you have your demos, your EPs that sort of that will get your name bubbling or whatnot. You got the heat, but that's not your complete body of work. It's stages. Your first album is always going to be your easy set. It's always going to be your easiest album because you've been working so hard for that. It's that second and third album that's going to really make or break you. So really, your first album should be like, this is my introduction up to to the world. This is, you know, my name. This is how I get down. The second one should be more of, all right, where are you in your journey? Third is a continuation of that. You've had a bit of struggle, you know, you really seen what's, you know, really behind the pictures and the veil and whatnot, and
To
you're
interject here, I'm also very much tired of this album. This album is normally the, fame bitches hoes album too, and I'm kind of tired of this one. But I mean, it's an
but
album, it has to be made, but this is normally that one.
it usually is made. It usually is made, but if you do it right, it can be a great.
Yeah, it can be good. It can be good. Yeah, it can be good, but normally those
And
are
that's usually that. That's why I said the second and third album is going to be more important than your first album. First album can, well, I say, oh, you're great. Now it's like, okay, follow that up. Now follow that up. And a lot of times, a lot of these artists are unloading the clip in their first album. So when the second album comes around, they don't know what to do.
well, and I think a problem or a thought, not necessarily a problem, because for one, nobody even plans like that anymore in the mainstream. Let's say that people just throw shit out, whatever. So if that doesn't happen, but then even if you do like put everything into your first album, you're supposed to kind of live a little and like like you're supposed to kind of go off somewhere. So like it shouldn't be like, oh, I've exhausted all of this energy and now I can't make another album. Hopefully, if you're planning for artistic longevity, I think that's my main point too. If you are an artist that is planning to do this for the long haul because A, you love it so much, B, whatever, like, like if A and B, or if it's basically like, this is what I want to do, then, and I'm not, and I don't want to be, I guess like capitalistic in mindset to be like, well, you just gotta grind it out. But like, if this is what you're gonna do, then you do have to have gas in the tank for the long haul. You can't be like, album one, boom, all right, I'm done. I don't got no more material. Um,
Or they just make the same album again and again
over
and
and over again. Anyway, the mainstream's broken. I just I love but also hate getting on these soapboxes, but the mainstream is fucking broken. And I don't care about it. Like again, I'm don't get me wrong, I'm gonna the Beyonce's. I still got a little love in my heart for Abel. Like you're gonna get some spent money out of me. I'm not going. I cannot sit on a high horse and be like, I will never listen to a mainstream artist again. But at the same time, you're just not about to get me furiously talking about why I don't see any new good talent popping up in the mainstream because it's broken. I don't care about that no more. So realistically,
see, to me, and I had this conversation with a journalist on Twitter. I'm not going to call it its new name, but it's Twitter. Um, and
that
yeah, the app, and she asked that question. I said it comes back down to A&Rs, but it's also come back. It's also of expectations because what a lot of people are getting so wrapped around is this hype beast and this viral, and saying like this is how it's supposed to be. And I'm like, no, that's not how it's supposed to be. Because realistically, and I've always felt like, and there was talk about this when Jay-Z was running Def Jam, of having two separate of it's still under one umbrella of Def Jam, but was two different avenues. One was like the, hey, we got, it's more like the minor leagues, but we're putting actual money behind them to help develop them and get them to this point. While the other part was the established acts that, okay, we know what we have to do over here. And at
right.
times there may be like it'll be combined, but the expectations in terms of record sales or whatnot of saying what is actually being successful really look like. Excuse me. But that never came to fruition. To me, I think that needs to come. That really needs to come and fleshed out. That, okay, these newer acts need to have that avenue, so that once they become established, then you can easily make the transition over here. You know, and at the same time, you're it's still that conveyor belt system, but you're not putting so much pressure. And a lot of times it's that pressure. But also, we already know that literally, once you sign that deal, literally half of that money is gone right off the bat.
I feel like right now we're in the like, you know how people they be talking about the sports analysts and how half of them never played no sports. That's us. They be like, you ain't never been on the field. You just talk about stats.
Well, we
That's us.
well, but I think a lot of time, and it's because it's funny because I'll watch a lot of YouTubers or whatnot actually talk about sports and whatnot. They're actually better than the analysts because they actually will be unbiased and say what needs to be said. I think a lot of the journalism is watered down. I think a lot of it is just based off of
That is a
relationships.
whole different fucking pain point, and you know it.
Yeah, and we talk about it. It's about access. It's about access, which is there's nothing wrong in gaining access, but you cannot be swayed because of that. You have to be unbiased. You have to just say this is what it is. And if you're saying, hey, this album is good, this album is mid, this album is trash, and you give an unbiased opinion on it, you can't be but we all know everybody's sensitive to their art. But you can't feel some type of way of saying like, oh man, they just hating on me. I put my blood, sweat, and tears and whatnot. And I always say this: the music is going to tell you right away. It's going to tell you right away. The lasting impact is going to tell right away. You can throw as many hype beasts and influencers you want at me, but if it doesn't stick to my ribs, that's not having an impact. I'm gonna say that to anybody. There's no stick to the rib music. and I'm not saying all, but
You're speaking in absolutes.
yeah. So let me the the percent.
My therapist would say you are speaking in absolutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me change that. The percentage of stick to your rib music, which means you're playing that damn project to death, is on the negative trend. That's not saying that there isn't. We always say
That's a point that I can agree with.
is there's so many artists out here that we wouldn't know about, but that we actually don't know about because it's just too much. It's too much.
Well, and sub point, they're harder to find. And it lately, even in like the time recalibrating, I always use that word, but in the time recalibrating, that's what I want. Like, like that's what we're for. Like, we are going to be the people to, again, maybe if it's just 5 people that find out about a new artist or something, we can do that because bitching and moaning, like, okay, yeah, occasionally we can, like, be annoyed and be old people angry at clouds. But like eventually we need to sift through this fucking music because they exist. I'm holding my tongue because I really do want to talk about an artist that dropped like in new noise today, but I'm gonna hold it because we're planning our R&B episode and all that jazz. So I'm gonna keep it. But
But I wanted to just bring this up while I finish because it actually goes into what we're discussing. Um,
word.
was this tweet by Ebro, and see if I can actually read it. Give me 1 second. There we go. And it was actually very interesting. And when it came out, it made waves. But he said, I got calls saying it should be noted many major record labels have deprioritized signing rappers. The focus is now African music and Latin music. Rappers better stop being boring and talking about the same shit over and over, chasing TikTok success and comment sections. Now, I found I called BS on this because I said it's funny coming from him, from this man, because this man's been in the industry, has denied the practice of payola, but we all know that payola still happens. It just looks different. Ask any musician that still exists, right? So I just came back and asked him, and I said, how much did the stations play into that? They're playing legit talented artists and musicians that don't even get a look from these stations. And also, are we going to talk about how the heart and soul of the genre is basically gone? And I'm not
And
talking.
I'm going to get angry. I'm literally remember that movie Inside Out, the one about the emotions. I'm anger blowing up because your last point is super important because the heart and the last point is important. The heart and soul of the genre is gone because you've taught these artists that the shit that they need to do is shuck and jive for TikTok. And then, like, you know what I mean? Like that. I do remember at first at the beginning before we started recording, I forgot what the tweet said. So I was like, I don't remember what it was. But now I remember because it pissed me off. Because I was like, that's not even fair. Like it's wrapped up in a bunch of bullshit to me. Like you said, it's giving weak. It's giving it's
To
giving lazy. It's giving it's time to pivot for a new dollar.
it's and to me is number one, who's calling you, right? If you want to be, because he was on this whole thing is, why are we not seeing artists put put up their hip hop 50 montage and thanking hip hop for what they've done and all this? I'm like, stop, because I'm like, number one, you we know you, Ebro. You've done some shady stuff. There's stories about you, okay? But your that tweet was very decisive. If you read between the lines, right? Again, this is again, I reread this, right? Of course, everyone is saying, "Oh, will say the highlight part is they have deprioritized signing rappers, right? The focus now is African and Latin music.
Now let me stop you. Like let's pause right there for a second. And the reason that I'm pausing right there is because let's be fucking for real. How long is this gonna last? And I'm not saying it to be shitty. I love Afrobeat. Like I love, like Bad
No,
Bunny and J Balvin that have gotten super popular. How long is this shit gonna last? You trying to
no,
tell me that
no, no,
magically,
no. This
like
is we may be thing, but I said look at reread that, right? And your reaction just proved to me that why I said read between the lines. This tweet is very decisive and very dangerous. Why do I say that? Right? Because African music has influenced hip hop. Latin music has influenced hip hop.
it's
Hip hop
giving stop playing that Negro music. It's giving let's clean it the fuck up. It's giving this is dusty and dirty now.
it's it's try to put this. It's you can't have Afro beats, you can't have Latin music. Then guess what? You don't want reggae music as well.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. It's really the tweet stinks as well because it's just like again, like pushing what I also see out of this tweet is so hip hop being like, top genre, big, huge, popular, boom. Now it's like, well, hip hop can't be big. Like it only now it's just like again, Afro beats or Latin music. Like they can't all exist in the same space. We will not be having any hip hop anymore because that's not popular anymore. And it's like, and also going back to kind of like the previous point, you commodify the fuck out of something so much, then it's like disposable. Okay, oopsie. All right, well, it's gone now. What else can we churn out? Because then Afrobeats is going to be aggravating in 2 to 3 whatever business months, and then it's going to be like, okay, what's next? Like you can't like the fact that again that we know that's what the industry does, but like it frustrates me. And then you get tweets like this from important people and on one side of the house, you're going to get artists scrambling to be like, well, fuck, let me do some backflips and make me an Afrobeat song now, which I hate that mindset, but they're going to do it. They're going to be like, okay, well, what's popular? I'm just going to follow the trend because it's popular. And then you're going to get other people that are discouraged and, whatever. It's just fuck that tweet.
And this is where I was going because I'm like because people trying to because even some people like this. Oh no, their hip hop all is blackety black, and anybody that tries to come in is just uh a guess and whatever. No, that means you totally got the whole entire thing fucked up, right? Listen to what it is because this was reggae and dancehall in the mid and 2000s, early 2000s, mid 2000s, right? Because if anybody remembers, they were playing the mess out with Sean Paul and whatnot, Elephant Man, and they tried to Americanize them,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't work. So then that fell to the wayside. Now, of course, we got Drake, who literally goes through
Whatever phase.
whatever phase he wants to go into, and he's supposed to highlight or whatnot. And I said, no, 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 because you're playing the same record game. You can have all of the above, right? Rock influenced hip hop because a lot of the beats weren't original beats. It was samples from rock songs, right? So let's just cut that whole entire decisive stuff out of it. Let's just call what that tweet really was. It was more of a warning call to other people in the industry of saying, hey, the payment scale is going to be a little different now because this is where we're really focusing our effort into, right? And I had to take a step back, right? And I listened to a couple of Afro beats and dancehall and Latin songs. Do you know what's the difference?
I mean, I personally just don't know what language or sometimes the language
It,
barrier
it,
is
it doesn't
different.
even. It's not even about the language barrier.
What is different?
It's the heart and soul.
Oh, that's true. I
It's the heart.
mean, yeah.
It's it's the heart and soul. Before we were recording, right? I played you a song, and that's gonna be in my new noise too, right? I
Oh yeah,
played
no, that was a bop. That really might be the only song. That was a
right.
bop.
That was, and trust me, I got more if thing, but I said listen to that, right? If you listen to the cadence, you listen to the beat, really like really sit down and just listen to it, you could tell that was a well made song, but there was also a heart behind it. Even though it was a little, it's talking
It's
about,
raunchy, but I was fucking with the
but
vision.
but it was a heartbeat to it. It was a heartbeat to it that you could say, okay, yeah, yeah, I I'm good with this, right? And they could do it. They could do it with another one. It was just this. It was a heartbeat. I would say at a party, right, and even a club. And it's funny because there was a video that went out on IG that somebody was playing like 2000 was playing like classic hip hop, and I mean like not late 90s, early 2000s, right? And then was playing playing dance hall of around the same time or whatever, and everybody's the energy is hyped, is good and whatever, and they start playing stuff from today. And if you and it was trap. So guess what happened? The whole entire p- party and vibe just switched, and everyone's just like not moving because the connection's not there. The connection's not there.
And even now, like I think about, excuse me, events and things that I go to, and normally, again, if it's not like just like a local hip hop show or like a local kind of mashup genre show or whatever, which has its own vibe, like that's a little bit different. A lot of the and a conversation for a different day. It just made me think about it. But the DJs don't be knowing what the fuck to do today because they just be playing. It just be like, let me throw up a song, let me do whatever. But that statement made me think of that because you get instead of even like a mashup, right? Like or a DJ that know what the fuck you doing. Let's have some transitions. Let's like, okay, let's weave in and out. You hit the, you go from like I just got, well, I've heard the song before, but like the song that's really popular right now, it's like Afrobeat, the Libyanka people song. So like you could play that song and it's lit and people are vibing. And like a DJ should be able to be like, again, I'm a very baby DJ, not even a really good one. But let's say you weave out and you weave in a Rihanna song. I don't know. I'm just making shit up. But like the DJ should be able to do that. Like that should be the vibe. Like you should be able to weave in and out, even if you were gonna throw some trap in there, make it fun, make it a part. Like you said,
There's
the energy just be sucked out of it. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like how the vibe can just be sucked out of a party because now you just turned on whatever.
and the whole thing is your body will tell your body, your ear, if you have a good ear, if you have a good ear, it will tell you right away, like, oh, this is good. This is a hit. This got a nice little vibe to it that you're like this. Okay, I'm I know what to do with this joint, you know, and and I may want to go into a to a dancehall reggae retrospective, right? Because I really do.
What did
It,
we should talk about it. You know way more about it than I do. So I think we
yeah,
should. I think let's write that down. Write that
yeah.
down. Me.
So
Somebody write it down.
so it pending because a lot of the practices that are happening today is coming from that dancehall industry, and how it's just all wrapped up, right? But the thing about Afro beats, right, besides it being different and fresh, right, there's an actual heartbeat behind it. The group I 2 years ago, remember that French hip hop group I
Oh
put
yeah,
you
they're
onto, right?
cool. For
Yeah,
French.
yeah, for keys or whatever, right?
French.
Uh, yeah, they're French, right? And we probably butchering the name, but what's that? Afro beats. That's Afro beats. Uh,
Is it a little drill? Maybe a little drill.
a little drill, but it played, but could you really be like, yo, this is just bad? No. How everything blended together so
And you don't
well.
even know what they're saying. It's French.
But you were rocking with it, right?
Just like, and also Aya Nakamura. I don't know if you ever listened to that album, but she's also really good French as well, if I'm not mistaken.
So that's it, is when you know that, and that comes back down to it, is of artist development. A lot of times artists, they may have been, you, if they dropped their debut album, you did not hear from them for at least 2 years, right? You did not hear for them for 2 years. It would be almost 2 years before they dropped an album, because it was like that. It was okay, dropped an album, you toured, now
Right.
sit your butt down, enjoy your little bit of success, but you know that you're on the clock. So you got to really work that. So you got basically a 6 months to 8 months to of coming up with something. Then you got 2 months of really doing revisions, putting it to the label headaches or whatever. And if you, then it's done, and then you're promoting, and that's basically 2 years gone right there. And then your second, and then usually it'll be the same thing again. It'd be 2, maybe 3 years. Go look at the timeline of releases. It's almost every. I'm not gonna say that, but it feels like it's almost every year somebody's dropping something new, and it's the same album because there's no growth. Look at everybody's favorite. I It's almost a fact. And I know I'm trying not to speak in guarantees, but a certain person from Toronto is about to drop a new album, and either this, it could be this week, it could be next week, who knows, right? But I can almost guarantee you it's
We gotta
this.
turn. We gotta actually. I'm gonna put a number counter on the times that we mention people from Canada, because we might have to just put a number. The Weekend, Drake. We
Almost like
Canada counter.
I can almost guarantee what this album is going to be, what it's going to sound like. And
And who care? Oh, we don't care. We don't even care.
guess what? It's Everyone's gonna say, "Oh, it's great" and whatever, and I'm just gonna be like, it's still stagnant. It's still stagnant at all. And it was funny because somebody actually brought this up. Is he is one of the he's maybe one of the few artists that's gotten so much buzz and whatnot, but has yet to drop a classic album.
Oh Lord, not this again.
Right?
Not this
Yeah,
again.
people like this will take care of things. Like Take Care was a damn good project, but was not classic.
Not this again.
But that's that person. I was like, I'm not getting into that stuff.
Right, that's what
But
I'm saying. I'm not even about to do it. I'm not
but
even about to
it,
do it with you.
can you really say one album makes itself different from another?
I I again Canada
That,
counter. I'm not even
but
talking
I'm
about it
not.
anymore.
But I'm not saying.
Canada counter.
But it plays to a bigger picture of the whole entire shit is broken.
It's
The whole
broken.
entire shit is broken, right? However, there be guys, and I want to make sure I give them their flowers, because my God, that was some good rapping. Coast Contra, right?
I saw somebody one of oh shout out to Transcending Sound. I just saw like a clip of that. Somebody or Amira from Transcending Sound posted that, and I saw briefly, but I need to go back and watch it.
Man, that was just bars. That was bars. That was energy. That was personality. That was, yo, let me go find some more stuff about them. And when you do, it lines up.
Right, it's
And
together.
it lines up together. And on top of that, I always say get personal. And when they talk about some personal stuff, I was like, this is real hip hop. You know, it's okay to show your personality, to be funny,
To be a human being, because your
to be
music is not a. I mean, it's a product, but it's not beep boop robot 1 2.
and a lot of it is is 1, 2, 3, because literally we already know circle the block, pop my ops. I'm take a bitch. Yep, I'm gonna take a bitch. I got while I take a bitch, I got a side chick over here that
Let's wrap up on a happy note. I'm real sad. I do like I love these episodes because we be real like passionate, but they be leaving me real sad. I be real sad. Like
well, we got some. Well, we got some. So you want to go or shall I?
I'm going to make a brief mention. It's going to be real quick. And I can't remember if I've mentioned this band or collective, I'll say, before. Oddly enough, their name is Cosmic Collective. My cousin put me onto them. I think they did a show here and I missed it. Like they came. Sorry. Brief PSA that does have something to do with New Noise. I promise. For people in uh Columbia and the surrounding areas, I'm gonna link this in the show notes. New Brooklyn Tavern, which is our like local place for mainly rock shows, but they have been supportive of all genres, all up and coming artists. They're about to lose their building because of capitalism. So fuck that shit. And they're doing a GoFundMe, and they're doing like t-shirt sales. A bunch of different restaurants are like doing percent nights to host them. I actually, at the time of recording, I'm gonna look up what their. I'm gonna keep talking, but I'm gonna look up like what their GoFundMe is doing. But said that to say, like once I get paid, I'm donating to their GoFundMe. It's a huge space in Columbia that can't be lost. And like we said, like up and coming artists, that's the place where they go. And capitalism and bullshit and gentrification and blah 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 is trying to take this space away. So I'm gonna link it, but like if you can, Columbia surrounding areas, or if you're just somebody that has a shit ton of money, please consider donating to this musical establishment that lives here in the heart of Columbia. Anywho, just had to make that pitch. I'm gonna link it. Um, when and like, hold on, I'm just gonna make where's the GoFundMe? I want to tell you how much money has been raised so far. Oh, so far the GoFundMe started on the 21st. It's raised 35.7 thousand of its $250,000 goal. Um, I believe they have until the end of the year to come up with the money, but either way, it's just whatever this money goes towards. The establishment is a crucial part of the music scene in Columbia, and had to make that pitch. I said that to say that Cosmic Collective is a collective that did a show at New Brooklyn. I missed it. My cousin had told me about it and I missed it. But they make and they're doing hopscotch. How nice. I've talked about hopscotch before on the podcast. Okay, I'm just looking at their Spotify. So like their bio says they're a music ensemble, so they fuse jazz, funk, and soul. It's very nice to hear. Like again, I love talking about playing music, for people who work or whatever. And again, it's not always I want to hear like some trap or whatever. So they have a nice blend of like easy listening music, and yeah, they're pretty dope. And I want to see if I can quickly find out where they're from, but either way, Cosmic Collective on Spotify and then Cosmic Collective Music on Instagram. I really like them. They're just easy to throw on. A lot of times I find myself, and this is a kind of a different podcast topic that we'll talk about. I find myself just throwing on lo-fi, listen to whatever, blah, 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 chill girl, lo-fi listening or whatever, which is fine. Sometimes my brain's not really in the mood to like think of a musical vibe to work to or whatever. So sometimes that works for me. But this like Cosmic Collective is fun and it's interesting. So if you're not in like a brain off mode and you want to hear something like enjoyable and funky and cool, that's my new noise pitching. Cosmic Collective. They just dropped. It's just 2 songs. So it's called Extended Release. One song's called Extended Release. One song's called Floating. I don't have a favorite song yet. It's just 2 songs off of this little release. But yeah, that's my new noise. And then got looped up into the pitch. But yeah, if you want to listen to them, go check them out. And yeah, AD's turn. I just wanted to pitch him real quick.
All right. So one of well, Is it bad that I actually got three now?
Go for it.
All right. I mentioned them. I mentioned them just a few minutes ago, but Coast Contra, Apartment. This album came out last year, but they're definitely getting a lot of buzz because of their viral freestyles. Um, but they dropped an album called Apartment 505. Really good, just great hip hop, like just great hip hop that a lot of people can just vibe to. Um, Bars galore. Just really a real good project. Of course, if we're going to go into the R&B realm, Taku dropped a project this past Friday. Of course, that's about 3 4 days from our recording. But this past Friday, songs to come home to. Um, from I'm about halfway through the project, 20 songs on this, and we got people from like uh Xavier Omar, Questlove, Jameson, which we're still waiting for that album.
I'm gonna shut my ass up. I'm gonna shut my ass up. It's small interjection. It's between Pittsburgh and DC now that I'm going to see him. So just FYI. But I'm about to get my ticket. So okay.
Um, but from what I've heard thus far, I really like it. Really laid back, just real laid back vibe. But if you want something that'll put you in a good, just fun, just a fun song to listen to, but can also lead to something else if you know what I'm saying. I'm going to recommend that you go out and stream Conscience uh single. It came out in May, but I've just uh literally just stumbled upon it. It's called Slaps and Chokes, and it's the
Bop.
product and the production is by Johnny Blaze and Static. My well, raunchy as hell because Candice
Bop
even said,
though. Well,
but
bop
the
though, because this is the I've never heard of the artist before, obvious, or I guess it might not be obvious, but
the man is 10 to 12 years. I would say maybe even longer in the dancehall game,
wow.
but
It's a bop. Like it's one of the ones that you really do hear, like, you know, how a DJ will have like a deep ass cut. And you'll like if a DJ throw it out, you're like, oh, and like it is one to like make you move. Um I like it. So I'm mad because like I'm gonna save it to a playlist. I don't know when I'll ever use it, but like,
man, you don't even need to say just play that stuff. Like that thing just makes you happy. Like
oh, it's
that's
so good.
and the whole thing is that the is and this why I said we're gonna go when I get my information correct in time. I'm gonna do a
We got
dance
this.
hall retrospective and just giving the flowers to the genre because three other artists have you made songs to that same rhythm, which is the same beat, right?
Mm.
But it's how they interpret it. So that already shows creativity. It's like, okay, you did this. All right, let me see what I can do with it. And if it's gonna be up there or it's gonna be down here. But it's like a lot of these rhythms come out and it'll be like maybe like 15 people on it doing same beat, but they're doing their interpretation to it. So you're like, okay, I like this flow. I like how they did this. I like the cadence. But what why to me this was like a song that was missing because I was like, this man, summer just didn't feel like it. Just didn't feel like anything was really getting me moving personally. And but this, it
That's
was
why
a
you still got Labor Day weekend. You still
but
got Labor Day
yeah, but nothing felt like putting me in that like this is a summer song, you know. And I'm sure there's stuff out there, but like it didn't put me in that happy summer. But this was like the perfect blend of dancehall and R&B, and it had a soul. It had a soul to it, and of course when I heard, I was like, okay, let me find what this rhythm is. Let me see who else is on it.
Music that makes you what's the sample? Who the artist? Let's bring that back,
And it
please.
was like, and when I found it, it was like about another three or four that I was like, oh, okay. I still mess with it because the beat, it just goes. It goes, and of course we'll link everything. And
Y'all gotta play that one. Like, I mean, play them all. Again, we always request you play them all. Y'all gotta play that one. That one is good. And by the
that
time that this record, so the time of recording, it's right before Labor Day weekend. So this will come out after Labor Day weekend, most likely, unfortunately,
there'll
but you
still be
still
more.
got time. Yeah, still got time.
To me, I heard that I was like, damn. And I don't know what the movement is over because I kind of jump in and out of the reggae dancehall scene. But this, to me, like, we always talk about put your money where your mouth is, right? And if I was in that position, and if I was running a label, or had the keys to, like, we're gonna put money behind this joint, I would said yes. We're pushing the button. We're gonna get that out there because I can. It's one of those tracks that I could see, even though it's raunchy, I could see it being played over.
You could still clean it up.
You
Cause
can
I
you,
mean,
you can still
because
clean it
rum
up.
and Red Bull came over some. I mean,
Yeah,
well, was it ever clean? I don't know, but like, you can clean it up. You can fix it.
but you could play that. You could play that in the adult R&B because it has that vibe to it. You play it in the both. So you're like, oh, okay. So I could. We always say the mom test, right? If it was a clean version and we put it at the barbecue, you can
Yeah, the
see your.
moms and aunties going nuts. Period.
Yeah, they're gonna hear it like this. They're like, oh yeah, see,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what,
right. They're going nuts.
yeah. Let me get a little young thing, a little try to show what I can do. Like, okay, but
We are the moms and aunties now.
no,
Not the point.
you the mom
Not the
aunties.
point. We
I'm
are the
over here.
moms and aunties.
No,
You're an uncle. Don't do that. I'm certain
uh,
you're an uncle.
I'm an uncle, but I ain't no. Get it twisted.
You're
Don't get it
an
twisted.
uncle. You're an uncle, dad.
I'm
Dad,
I'm
uncle.
I'm that, but I ain't no mom and auntie.
I
Trust me.
mean, you knew what the fuck I meant.
We ain't going there.
You knew what
So
the fuck I meant.
let's just let the bus drive by. Let's
You
just let it
see,
drive by.
you
Let's
see
let,
how AD do? You see how
let's
AD
let, let's
act?
let look. I'm trying to look. The bus is going. And you still
See
trying to hop
how
on?
AD act?
No, the bus is going. I ain't trying to do anything. I'm trying to wrap this up.
We bond over a bop, and the AD had to make it weird.
No, I'm not making anything weird. See, I can make certain things weird, but I'm just like, no,
Well,
you
yes,
because
please listen to the songs, especially that last one. Please listen to it. All of it's gonna be linked. We're gonna link it. It's gonna be great. Um, but yeah, listen to that one. That it was a bop. We just happened to play it right before recording, and it was chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. But yeah, we have been talking for an hour, which is always so crazy. I'd be looking up and it'd be like, damn, it's a whole hour. But yeah, housekeeping, we're getting back on schedule. We've got some cool episodes being planned out. And yeah, that's the big stuffs for the podcast. Other than that, AD, anything else before we wrap?
nah, nothing on my end.
All right. Well, this has been the BINACT podcast where we talk music, the people that make it, and the communities that listen to it. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody.